Hey, welcome back to another episode of Juan of Words podcast. My name is Anjelica.
And I'm Juan Alanis.
Thank you so much for joining us on another podcast. So if you're wondering, we're wearing the same clothes, we're in the same space. We just complained about how we're not going to record here. We thought, you know what? Let's just do another one. We're already set up and good to go. Right? Because, okay, so can I just jump right in, or is there something you want to cover really quick?
No, let's just jump right in.
We'll just jump right in. All right. Okay. So in the middle of December, actually December 12th, I've been asked to participate in a upcoming small virtual conference. And I'm excited. So the topic is business basics, right? And I'm going to go. The event is called Dreams Unleashed by Sean Vaughan Media. And she's putting it together. I think this is her second year putting it together. Okay. The first one was in person. This one's going to be virtual, and the event is completely free.
And it's targeted to women?
Yes, it's to women. It's called Dreams Unleashed. Unleashed. The idea is for those who want to get into get motivated into wanting to do their own business. They'll have speakers, they'll have inspirational speakers, they'll have people who have dedicated to certain topics who can it's a very good lineup. I think it's going to be an amazing virtual conference.
Okay.
If I don't have all the details in my mind, and I just know it's going to be December 12th. I know who it's by and from, and if you're interested, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I don't know when the episode's going to come out. So maybe it might have passed, maybe not. It all depends.
No, I don't think so. I think it will probably come out before,
Okay.
It'll probably come out before, because it may come out. It may come out the week of Thanksgiving. So this may be the Happy Thanksgiving, guys, if you're listening.
So this might be Thanksgiving. Awesome. Okay, so if you still have time, it'll be there. Visit Crafty Thrifter on Facebook, and it's listed there for you to go join. If not, I'll go list it on Juan of Words. Go look for it. But I'll be a speaker, and it's free. And from what I've heard, I remember buying my ticket last year, and I couldn't attend. I don't remember why. I think it ran in. I think it was we were doing something else, and then I tried to make it, and then I couldn't because things overlapped. Anyway, long story short, this year I've been asked to do a small, very condensed, a 5-7 minute quick course on business basics.
Okay.
But I'm not a very conventional person. And so I wanted to go the off-beaten path of the conventional. So if you don't mind, I want to give some of I want to test it here and see what you think, Juan.
Okay.
And then I'll take the notes from there and then do it over there.
Okay.
Yeah? Do you think that'll work? Would it work? Because I already thought about it. I already thought about the kind of things that I want to talk about and the things that I want to say. I want to get your feedback. And maybe those who are listening can also give me feedback. Okay. And tell me what they think. Will it work? And if it does, and if you want to see if I changed it up a bit, come join me at the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the date of the conference?
December 12th.
December 12th. And it's the Dare to Dream?
No, it's called Dreams Unleashed.
Dreams Unleashed. The Dreams Unleashed event. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I have my little notes here, as I usually do when I bring up my phone. Juan has his little tablets, and I usually have my phone where I take down notes. So, like I said, I'm very unconventional when it comes to things like this. It's going to be a wide range of ladies. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of feedback on what level they are on.
It'll probably be across, usually those type of events are people people who are just starting out, people who are in the middle, people who've been doing it for a while, or so you get you run the gamut normally. Yeah. Especially for a free event, people will register a lot.
Yeah. So it's mixed in with my my list at CVS. So I have body wash, conditioner, makeup wipes. But okay, so like I said, I'm very unconventional. Here is one. So I want to give business basics, but again, I don't know the wide range that I'm going to be talking to. And so I want to go in with more of recommendations, things to do, or how to go about them maybe. So anyways, so my first suggestion is, I recommend, or I suggest that we all know we all have intuition. As we all spoken about this before, women tend to have excuse me, men out there, women tend to have a better intuition. That's just my opinion. But the problem is that we always say things like, I should have listened. I should have listened to my intuition. I should have listened to my gut. So my recommendation is, if you know you have an intuition, use it. And here she comes. Hi, mama.
Becky's intuition is to jump on the table.
Please don't put your nalga in the way. Goodbye, ma'am. So, yeah. So my recommendation would be to use your intuition, to really hone in on that intuition, and because I think you're gonna have to get off. We don't need your full on nalga on here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, so use your intuition and use it, because within those intuitions there are some business moves that will give you a gut and tell you this isn't worth it. Or it'll tell you things like, have you used your intuition in business?
I think women are more I think not that women have a better intuition. I think women are probably more in tune with listening to that intuition.
Okay. But have you used your gut instinct or your intuition to make a business decision, or to make I
think now I use it more than I did before, because I think I've been in a because I've made I don't want to call them mistakes, but I've gone into like projects that I probably shouldn't have gotten into, and there were
because you were excited about it, but you knew better.
Because I was like hungry, and I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity. This is like, so how sometimes when you want something to work out, you make excuses to make it seem like, even if you're seeing like warning signs, you're like, oh no, but it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that, it's going to be.
I'll make it change.
You make it like you convince yourself that that thing that thing that may not be a right fit is going to be a fit for you. And and I've done that before, and I think now when I notice that there's like something there, when I'm like, what, it feels kind of weird, or like, what, that thing that it just doesn't feel right, and I'm like, okay, maybe that
things don't start adding up, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's not, this is just like not something that we should pursue. And then I'll recognize that, and and I don't know if that's intuition, but at least like it's more of an awareness, at least.
Yeah, I remember from the beginning, I told you, when it comes to business and relationships, and when it comes to a lot of decisions, the process shouldn't be so difficult. It should never be that hard, because it should never be forced at whatever degree.
And we forced some things sometimes. Yeah. We did, like at the beginning, over the course of the time, we did force a few things to happen.
Correct.
And it was like,
it didn't go so
well. And it bit us in the butt afterwards.
Well, because it's a lot of stress, like having to worry about it over and over and over, like waking up and thinking about it, when that time can be used to do something else with it. Like you can be using that time that you stress about a certain thing to be like making other moves, or to be coming up with other ways to like do more with the business, or do something different.
Yeah, it's like energy spent. Like,
it is.
It's energy spent that like you don't get back. Like if you're on a hamster wheel, and you're just going and going and going and going, and you're
that's
like
your
so
intuition.
Focused on that thing because you're trying to make it work.
Yeah, I think that's
you don't even realize.
That's your intuition telling you, is this really where you want to spend your time?
Yeah. Like there was a situation, where like we were kind of going after or thinking about going after some type of business, and then it just started getting complicated, and I told myself, like, you know what, like, if this is this complicated at this stage, where we're not even like, we haven't even gotten to the point where we're talking about like realistically, like, do you have a budget, or like what is it that you really want us to help you with? If we're like, if it's so complicated just to even have the initial conversation,
if it's convoluted,
like, and not difficult, because it's like not difficult in the sense that you're like, oh,
because they're difficult,
you're trying to make like inroads, but no, it's difficult because the situation is being made difficult without it having to be. Then you're like, okay, you know what? Like, I can spend this energy that I'm going to spend, like these 3 hours that I'm going to spend doing X thing, like making this presentation or coming up with all this reasoning. I could spend it on like doing something else that's more productive.
Yeah, thank you. I think so. I think a lot of the times men also have their intuition, but I think women seem to like notice it faster.
Yeah. Like
I don't think we're better at it. I think we just recognize it faster.
Yeah, I think you're better, like more in tune with it probably.
Yeah. So I think intuition, listen to your intuition. There's sometimes something happens within like in business settings and relationships and all of that stuff. Your intuition kicks in and it's like that little thing that just like kicks you and you're like, what was that? And you're like,
And it can be anything because it could just be like, you know, it could be you're having a conversation and then something that somebody says and you can pick up on it and you'd be like, oh, like, wait a minute, that was like a veiled, like, comment or like a veiled, like...
that came out of left field. Why?
Yeah, like, what was that? Like, or, you know, and it's like, that's like a warning sign. It's like...
Sometimes they are, yeah.
Sometimes it can be a warning sign. And then you kind of listen and keep listening and if it keeps happening, then you're like, okay.
Here's the thing. It's when intuition hits, it doesn't hit you once. It hits you, like, subtly. Like it's very subtle.
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, this is like more than once. It's like happening.
Yeah.
It's like a what do they call it? It's like a repeating. It's like a recurring. This is recurring, like a recurring thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, there's something there.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta pay attention to that.
Yeah. So intuition, I think sometimes, and don't go on like I'm not saying go not follow your heart. What I'm saying is use your intuition, use facts, use data, use things that make sense. And if things just don't line up, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is use your feelings to follow that road, but then use actual facts to like follow through with those things, whether you don't want to do it or you want to do it, or if it's telling you go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what's an example of intuition for you?
For me, an example of intuition, like you said, like if we're going after like new business, and it's become difficult. For example, with things like, oh well, we have a budget for this, and we might be able to do this, but we were not going to do this, but we want to try it like this first, and this is the way, you know, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're ready for business. I think what you're ready for is to start a relationship, and we can have a relationship, but I don't want to give your hopes up on like us, like you feeling like you have to, like you're doing us a favor and giving us business, or you feeling like you're obligated to give us this business.
Well, yeah, or like making it, or like, you know, like being like, well, you know what, I really don't have a budget, but this is what I need you to do in order to like, and it's like, I don't, you know, if you don't have a budget, that's totally fine. Like you said, we can have a relationship.
You're correct. Yeah.
But, you know,
I can give you recommendations. I can give you suggestions.
Other, yeah. Right? I mean, let's just put the cards on the table and say, you know, okay, this is, you know, don't, I feel like that's like, when it's false pretenses, and I feel like it's like,
and it's not only from the client either. It can be from us too. We can over promise and not deliver through like fully, because we thought we could, and we noticed that it wasn't, there was no way. There was no way there was time for it. Again, and you have high hopes and you want to do it, and it's there. But the intuition talks to you very subtly and tells you, there's only 24 hours out of the day. You probably need 8 to rest and sleep, and spend your time wisely. So things like that. My intuition talks to me in that way. So that's how I use my intuition. That's an example for me. The next one, it's very simple, very, very simple. But again, I just simply think that it makes absolutely sense to me. Celebrate every win. I mean, every win. If you're in e-commerce and you sold $100 more than you did last week, or you sold your first $100, celebrate that. Like, celebrate that. Like, go take $10 of that and go get yourself something. Like, do something. Celebrate every win, because after a while, it starts to feel like it's a chore. And you definitely don't want, if you're an entrepreneur and you're going after it, or you're trying to get, I don't know, maybe you're not an entrepreneur and you have a job and you want to move up, you know, to different positions. Maybe you want to become management, or maybe you want to move into executive, and you're making your way through, right? And maybe you took a course, like a leadership course or something, and you finished it. Celebrate that win. Celebrate it. Don't just be like, this was great. And you know, Yes, celebrate it with people on Facebook. Mention it, correct? Yeah, but do more than that. You know what I mean? Like, go for a drink. Like, hire or take yourself or your husband or somebody and just celebrate it in a way, and just mention it until you feel comfortable. Until you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. This is where I want to go. This is what I'm doing. This is me. Celebrate every win along the way, because you remember that feeling when it gets tough. You remember that feeling when you say, you know what? Remember when it was hard for me to get here because I had to do the LLC, I had to set up taxes, I had to do this. It was so difficult to get my seed money to be able to purchase the products, to be able to do e-commerce, the setup of the website, the setup of this, the setup of that. All of a sudden, that $100 that you made from that e-commerce makes sense. Then you're like, no, but wait, it was worth it because I actually sold stuff. I actually made money. Whatever your win looks like, I say celebrate each one. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with celebrate every win. I think that you like celebrate every win, but like don't overdo it, like, because I think it's like it's easy to like, part of like running a business or part of like doing stuff like this is like you have to like invest, and you have to invest. So like say like you win a big client and you're like, oh, I'm gonna give myself a $10,000 raise. No, instead of doing that, like be more mindful about like, okay, of course, like, what, how can I invest this money, how to continue helping me grow, because it's not a it's a constant like thing. But I do agree that you should celebrate every win, because you never know, like tomorrow something could change, like COVID could happen, and then all of a sudden you're not in the best position anymore like you were before. Your projections are a shift, and your year is not as strong as you thought it was going to be. So I think it's like, yes, so that's for that reason I say yes, celebrate. And it doesn't have to be like a big festive celebration. It can just be like a little celebration. Whatever you do, whatever you think that you would do that you enjoy, like something as simple as like saying, you know what, we're gonna go have drinks, we're gonna go to like have a nice dinner, or I'm gonna like buy myself something nice. Or
this time, then when we go to dinner, I'm gonna get that plate. I'm gonna get that sirloin steak.
Or I'm gonna buy myself that new microphone that I wanted. Just because.
Because I celebrate wins like that. I celebrate wins by. So my habit is that my wins come with things like this, like the microphones. Today
I went to go buy more SD cards.
Or like SD cards, and I had been telling him like for a long time, like we needed more SD cards and we need new ones, because after when you keep reformatting them, I don't know, they get like. They get tricky, they get funky, but
that's a very measured way of celebrating. Like it's like
we can, but look at the stuff like my tripod. I went from a very plastic tripod to the one we have now. And I've used the living bejesus out of this tripod.
But it's not like, also I feel like it's also not like celebrate every win, woohoo, you got it, because I think like then at that point, if it turns into that and you're like, oh well, I made 2 calls today, woohoo, I'm gonna go celebrate that, like that's.
But sometimes that is some people's celebration.
And you're okay, yeah, but it should be measured, because if you're going to celebrate and you're like, nah, and I made 2 calls, now I'm gonna go spend $200. I was like, well, wait a minute, like if you only have $500, does that really make sense? Or like it's like, look, it has to be measured.
It's all up to you and how you want to do it. I agree that you should celebrate every win. You decide what your celebrations look like. Like Juan said, for me, it just happens to be the things that make me want to create more. So my celebrations are like that.
Like for me, it has to be more measured. Like to me, like at least when I do it, I like think like, okay, like it can't be like I'm gonna have this like this big ass party, and I'm gonna like invite all these people, and I'm gonna throw a couple thousand on it. Like if it merits that, yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. But if it doesn't, then it's like, okay, let's find another way to celebrate. That's
you
more.
See, my celebration would be like, oh, I can celebrate. Oh, you know what? $1,000. Hell yeah, more equipment. That's my celebration. Like I look at the stuff and I'm like this, because it makes my job easier.
Well, even like on this podcast, like as we're getting sponsorships, like we have like certain things that we're like, okay, when we get a sponsorship, we're gonna buy this piece of equipment, or we're gonna buy better this, or we're gonna buy better that.
For example,
because we already know
these headphones right here, these are like iPhone headphones. these right here, these are going to be upgraded pretty soon. We're going to actually have headphones.
Yeah, and
that muffled sound and that are noise canceling headphones.
Yeah, and we have like the reason is because we have like, but the thing is like we're not just like, we've been doing this podcast for like 40 something episodes now, and like
it's been a while.
And so like, but we didn't off the bat, we weren't like immediately like we're gonna start celebrating like at week 2.
Yeah,
it's like no, like we're gonna like, now that we're starting to do things, like we're starting to bring in sponsors and we're starting to like see some revenue from this, then we're like, oh, you know what, now we can like, you know, do a little bit of that.
Okay, so my next one, I do understand. I just want to make sure we still have time to do it. Okay, my next one is and this one pertains to me because it was really like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to say that. Okay, so for those who are in business and seem to have a lull or seem to have been at a standstill or are in between or whatever, don't know which direction to take, my suggestion would be tap into talent, the other talents you have, and then press the gas on them. So what I'm trying to say here is that tap into the talent that you have besides what you're actually doing now. So for example, for me, my talent is that I like to talk. Hence the podcast. Hence now I'm venturing off and doing my own podcast. I'm flying solo, and so I love to talk. I like to have conversations. On top of that, one of the things that I like to do, and I feel I do well, is actually I'm pretty good at researching. I'm pretty good at getting information based on the research, based on the kind of information that I'm trying to get. And for me, I feel like I can relay messages, or I can relay like what I'm reading and start to connect the dots. And so hence the new podcast for me, hence what I'm going to be doing next. I'm tapping more into that I feel my talent is yada yada talking. That's what I love to do. And yeah, I'm combining both and doing that, and I'm going to what I said is press the gas on it. Like, not go full throttle, but just press the gas on it and taking it into a way that's going to, in hopes, get me where I want to be eventually. I think a lot of times we tend to stay stuck on what we know and what we do best, that we negate other talents that we have. And the thing is, when you have those talents, they help you in a way. They definitely can open up avenues that you didn't even know you wanted. And so they go by the wayside, and we never fully grow into them. And you can learn a lot about yourself in that way. And so my suggestion is that tap into the undiscovered talents, or tap into those talents that you know they're there, and see how they can be useful for you, and press the gas on them.
I mean, I think that it's easy it's good to be able to change course, like when you need to, because I think sometimes you need to change course, but you're not willing to change course because you're scared that, you're used to something that is, the way certain things are, or the way things function, even though they're maybe dysfunctional, or maybe
but they can help.
Even if it's not like the most ideal, or you're struggling, but you're so afraid to like make a shift or to change course that you're like, you're kind of like, you're just there, like at the constant like question in your head, and you're not like able to move forward. And I think sometimes all you need to do is like change course, and go for it. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and you change course again. But I think sometimes like going back to those things that you do well, that you enjoy, and like those talents is really like where you end up finding your path to what you want to do,
to your next step.
Because you're going back. It's going to the very basic of like, okay, well, why is it that I got into this to begin with, or why is it that I'm doing this, or why? And when you get to that like very basic of like, okay, and it's usually related to your talent, like you said, then you're like, oh, okay. And eventually like you start going down one road, and that may end up leading you to some other stuff that if you wouldn't have never taken that step, you wouldn't have never gotten there.
Yeah, and I think that's where yeah, definitely, I agree with all of that. I agree with you being able to be able to find your way, and the way you can do that or stay the course is sometimes you have to take a detour to come right back.
Yeah, sometimes it's like yeah, that's a good way of saying it, because sometimes you think that you're so like committed to something that you're like, I'm not gonna like, if I change this and this whole thing is gonna change, but sometimes all you need is like a little pause, and with that little pause just re-energizes you, and then maybe you do end up at the same place you started, but you end up there in a different mindset,
in a different way.
In a different way, in a different mindset, in a different, like, maybe more prepared, maybe more experienced or something.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to go back to go forward.
Yeah.
So, okay. Next is pay attention to the needs of others and make those connections for them if there is a fit. Now, I'm a big believer in never withholding information, never withholding information or connections or things like that. Like, I think the best thing that you can do is when people remember you is they remember you by the way that you were able to help them. For example, like if you're a t-shirt seller, and you know where to get like the best t-shirts, and you know who does the best logos, like the graphic designer that does the best logo. Like if you're, again, I just go back to e-commerce for whatever reason, but like if you know what to do and you know somebody is trying to maybe do the same business, it's you, if you know you can help. My suggestion is that you help, because you never know when that favor is going to need to be returned, and I don't do it because you think that favor is going to need to be returned, but they actually remember you because of that. People remember you by the way you help. It has been proven to me time and time again, the kind of business that we're in, time and time again, the kind of business we've been able to receive by the help that we've been able to give in the past. And not every time, but it's helped. It's worked out.
They say that sometimes, that a lot of times the referrals that you end up getting are from people that really don't know you that well. That it's people that don't know you, but that they're watching you, or they observe the way you carry yourself and the way you behave. And when you're like that, when you're a sharer, when you're a connector, when you're like one of those people that, is willing to make those connections, and you're not expecting anything out of it. You're just like, you're doing it because you're like, oh, you know what, you should meet so and so, or you're looking for somebody to hire for this. Oh, I know somebody. Let me introduce you. Like when you do those things just because you want to, just because you know that it's like putting it out putting it out there, and then think it'll eventually come back to you. And maybe not from the same people that were part of the connection that you made, but somehow to come back to you. But they say that a lot of times it's the people that you really don't know that well, who are just acquaintances, or you've met a few times, or they know you peripherally,
or who remember that. And sometimes they watch you manage your way. I've said this before, and I think I've said this somewhere else, is that people watch the way you move. People watch the things that you do, and if they see that you're being helpful with other people, they actually want to be in on it. They want to help you too. I think it's a modeled behavior that people appreciate.
Yeah, and sometimes even when you feel like you're not because sometimes you're not in a place that you can give. Like you feel like if you're in a position where you're starting out, you may feel like you don't have a lot to give. Like you're hustling to get everything that you need, right now, and you don't have a lot of space to give. But I think sometimes, even then, those are the best times to like find ways to give, because I think that's really noticeable. Like that if you're on the same playing field as somebody else, and you're both kind of like going at it like really hard, but you're still willing to lend a hand to that other person, like that speaks to the way you carry yourself. And
it does.
And people
appreciate that,
respect that, and they're like, oh, you know what, I remember this person.
I don't know. Like, I never want to say the word like respect, because you should respect yourself, period. And I don't you should never need somebody's approval or respect to be able to do what you want to do. But what I'm trying to say is that, I think people do appreciate you doing such things.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean that you need to respect their respect. I'm just saying that people, like, it's behavior that, like, it's things that are admirable. So it's respect. Like, people would respect that.
Yeah. Again, it's my own interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, and this is my advice. This is advice at this point. Nothing ever stays the same. Nothing ever stays the same. If you are following models from years ago and you haven't seen growth, it might be time to shift. That one, we've seen people with years, 20, 30 years with the business go under because they were unwilling to change. That includes restaurants, that includes other agencies, other firms. Like their model stayed the same and they never wanted to change. Well, and so guess what happened? They started closing down,
Well, especially in an industry like this one, like digital, social media, like anything digital, like is shifting day to day. Like, it's always gonna shift. There's always whoever's on top right now is not gonna be on top in a few years. It's not gonna be on top. May not be on top tomorrow. You know, like it could see like. YouTube could change their algorithm, and all of a sudden the major YouTubers that were making videos are now only getting 30,000 views, and now they can't. They're struggling to try to get their views back up, and
it's not only content creators,
income and all that stuff. Yeah, no, it's not. I'm just using them as an example.
But I'm even talking about like restaurants.
Yeah.
Like even restaurants, like if the menu has stayed the same and maybe your diner style way of doing things, and they have outgrown you, or they're older and maybe that's not the way they dine anymore, or maybe they just what the reality is, what can you do differently to stay in the game?
You back up on your bullshit, don't belong to me. You acting all sleazy, I don't like what I see.
I want to mention the Houston Health Department because we are working with them.
This episode's sponsored by the Houston Health Department.
Sponsored by the Houston Health Department. Thank you. That's a much more eloquent way of saying it. Yeah. But we're partnering with them to raise awareness about COVID-19. As many of you have probably heard, there's a lot of news going around about the possibility of a surge happening again or happening during the winter season. And so part of what the Houston Health Department...
happening, or that it's happening now?
Well, there's already a surge now, but I think that there's a potential for it to be even bigger in the winter. So what the Houston Health Department is asking people is to really kind of be mindful about the things that they're doing, especially with the holidays coming around, and to continue to social distance, to wear a mask, to do all those good things that you do, wash your hands, and then if you feel like you need to get tested,
Jesus, that one, he said all the good things that you need to do.
Yeah, all those good things you need to do to take care of yourself, like wash your hands and do all that stuff, just, to be mindful.
So I guess basically what he's trying to say is that, keep up your good hygiene. If you're going to celebrate the holidays, try not to celebrate with multiple households. Do as much as you possibly can do. Testing is one of them. Testing can definitely... I was reading somewhere that people were saying, like, why test? Why test? Why get tested for COVID? Well, the idea is that you can make better choices and make better decisions based on the test results that you get from your COVID test. Yeah. So, yeah.
And here in Houston, the health department actually offers different testing sites around the city, and we've talked about it before in other episodes where we've mentioned this, that they're pretty fast and it's pretty convenient. They are free. They don't ask for your ID. They don't ask for your proof of health insurance or anything like that. You don't have to be a citizen or a resident to go to these testing sites. So definitely, if you feel that you've been at risk and you're in Houston, look up different testing sites that you can go to.
Back up on my piece shit, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm really different, don't gotta show you I'm like that.
Also, so in my recommendation for that, so a follow-up to that my suggestion would be this. Stay on top of personal development and growth. There is a lot of personal development classes out there. There's a lot of reports. There's a lot of information. You know what's changing in your industry. And if you don't know what's changing in your industry, you need to get on it. You need to learn what's changing in your industry. Whatever it is you do. E-commerce, PR, content creation, blogging, influencing, whatever information is out there. So I remember when we were blogging, there was this thing that new influencers were coming in and they were called microbloggers. You remember that one?
Yeah.
And they were actually like microblogging, like on Instagram and Facebook, which is basically they were just like giving an opinion or a piece quickly that was maybe less than like a paragraph long. And people were like, no, you got to take that and put it on a blog. And they were like, no, like, not that I'm saying like blogs are obsolete, and people still visit blogs, but they don't visit them as much as they used to.
Well, I think
it's shifted.
Yeah, I think because of social media, and now it's so much like.
And I don't want to blame things. It's not because of social media. It's just the way it was the lay of the land, and it was the way it was going to happen.
Well, back then it was like, I do think it was social media, because social media like shifted a lot of the behavior, like where everything that happens now is kind of immediately on social media, rather than when before you had to go to like newsroom sites, or you had to go to like blogs
to be able to read information,
read and get information. And now everything is so real time that, like, you know, it just shifts, it just changes the way that content is consumed now.
Yeah, but even things like like old school blogs, like Post Secret, for example. Like some of those, like I follow Post Secret like on Facebook, and I wait for some of the Post Secrets to be like posted there, and then it reminds me. Like I don't go every Sunday to go to view them. Like if I remember, then I do. But if I don't, but even something so classic like that has shifted.
Well, yeah, I mean, like even like all the newspapers, like they're all digital. They're all like everything. Their content, the majority of their content is digital.
Yeah.
Like, and their print numbers have gone down, because you know you can't hardly ever even go to a store and find a newspaper anymore.
Yeah, they used to be everywhere, right? Remember, you used to have to put coins in these like
I used to sell
these
them.
boxes. Yeah, but so that's what I mean. Like, there's stay on top of your personal development. Like, if you want to stay in the game and you want to hear what's happening as of lately, information. It's good to have information. It's good to have all the information laid out on you, and you decide in what direction you want to go in.
And I think that's kind of like two-way mentoring, where like typically you think about mentoring in one direction, but it's like much more like two-way mentoring, because you're not only teaching, but you're learning from the people that you're teaching, because you know they may have a lot of knowledge that you don't have. Like, just because
it's the digital ages. It's the digital ages. Sometimes it feels like we're going backwards for a moment. But yeah, so stay on top of your personal development. And then lastly, for all those who are in business, for all those who are entrepreneurs, for all those who want to move up the ladder, become management, go into corporate, and do all the great things. I don't know if I want to say this is recommendation or this is advice, but the answer is always no. And it's okay. Let me rephrase that. Okay. The answer is always no if you never ask. So, ask for help, ask for time, ask for information, just ask.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense, because I think a lot of times what you don't realize is that people are willing to help, but they just don't know. Like I think they don't want to assume that you need help, or like if they know you need help, they don't know how to approach you about it. They may not know how to approach you about it, or you know, they might think that you just don't know. But a lot of times people may want to help, but they just don't know. Like, if you don't ask them for help, they're willing to help, but if you don't ask them, they're not gonna offer you like the help.
The thing is that we don't, like, you're not a fortune teller, or you're not like a mind reader. You don't know what they're gonna say,
and the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah, and then if they say no, what's the worst that can happen? They said no.
Yeah.
You take a different route, you ask somebody else, or you look for a different way to do things.
Yeah, or you learn from that and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't approach it that way. Maybe next time I ask, I'm going to approach it differently.
Yeah. But again, the answer is always no if you never ask. So, and if you ask, you never know, you might get more than you expected.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? You might have just asked for this, and all of a sudden what's being offered is much more.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. So you like that? Do you like, what would you call that, advice?
Yeah, I mean, that is advice, no?
Yeah, it is advice. But so yeah, what do you think? What do you think of do you think I should add anything?
I mean, I like all the tips. I think they were all good. I think that the last one is a good one to put last because it's it's a very good, like, succinct, like, easy. Like, it didn't even lead to a lot of conversation because it's like, yeah, like, that makes sense. Like, there's not really a lot you can say about that because it's like, yeah, like, if you don't ask for help, then you're never gonna, like, get it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I guess what would I add? I mean, I think the only thing that I would add, and I don't know that this would be for I don't know if it would make sense for your presentation.
No, but please share.
Nobody's gonna come and save you. Nobody's gonna come and do it for you. Like, if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to do it yourself, then it's not gonna happen. Because I feel like that sometimes, like, that is part of, like, a lot of times what like, if you're doing your own business, is like you have to, like, be willing to do the work. Like, you have to, like, you can't expect to be like, oh, somebody's going to take care of this for me or somebody's going to take care of that for me. No, there's not. You're not working at an organization where you have different departments. You're all the departments, especially if you're starting on your own. So you have to push yourself to do those things, even when it's hard, even when it's not, like, even when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, where you're like, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not seeing the rewards yet. So I think sometimes you can think, like, that you're going to get rescued, or that somebody's going to help you, or that somebody, like, not that they're going to help you. Obviously, we said that some people are going to really help you, but you feel like, that if you get that grant, if you get that approval at the bank, if you get this, if you get that it's going to be the thing that's going to push you, take you to, give you the permission or give you the way, the path forward. And a lot of times you have to create your own path forward, especially now in the way things are in the digital age. Like, a lot of times you have to create your own path.
Yeah, I definitely agree that you should, well, here's my thing with that is that it makes sense to an extent, that advice or that recommendation. But to me, like, I'm always, again, I am always the person who's always going to find, if it's too difficult or if I understand that nobody's going to do it for me, I'm always looking for ways to do it differently.
And like, that's part of it.
Yeah, if that's the path. Like, for me, I'd rather suffer quick and harsher than suffer length and mild. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I say that because, like, sometimes, like, it's happened to me a couple of times where I've convinced myself that, this opportunity is gonna take me to this. It's gonna be the next thing that's gonna push me forward. And then like, I want to put all my eggs in that basket and be like, yes, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is like the salvation that it's gonna come and it's gonna take me there to the next level. And then next thing you know, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, okay. Because you keep expecting that, and it's not gonna happen. You gotta be the one to create to make that.
For me, it's always worst case scenario. Always, and we've said this before. For me, it's always worst case scenario. I always set myself up for worst case scenario, which takes me longer to pull the trigger on things. So it's always, if this doesn't happen, and am I okay with the outcome if all of this doesn't happen? And then I have to be okay with the outcome. If not, I keep looking for solutions. And until I get to a place where I'm comfortable with the outcome, then I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And, if I have to know the direction that I'm going in, I have to know my destination, and I have to know my alternative destination.
And for me,
I have to be like that. Like, I can't be so quick to be like, oh, I'll just go and figure it. Like, I'll figure it out. No. There has to be like a kind of a map out there. And again, I'll go back, like, when I do logistics for our road trips. Like, I have to have a destination. If my destination isn't that, what's my alternative destination? And am I okay with that?
And see, I'm the more, I think, the hopeful romantic in me. I can romanticize something that, like,
yeah, you do.
That
you
I'm
do.
Like,
you really,
you know
really
what?
do.
Like, this opportunity is going to take me here, and then I'm going to be doing this, and it's going to be great, and I can already see myself doing it, and it's going to be awesome, and and it's going to be, and so like I can romanticize the hell out of something, even to the point where, you know, even if somebody tells me like, well, you know what, that might not be the best fit for you, and I'm still trying to make it fit. I'm still trying to romanticize and be like, no, you know what? It's gonna work for me because I'm like.
Yeah, so here's the problem. The problem with that sometimes is, Juan, that you get to the point where I see it all the time. You get to that point, and then you're like, you see the potential outcome, and you get so scared of it, and you're like, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, why not? That can lead you to something completely different that you didn't even expect. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, but why? Like, go for it. Like, all of a sudden, like, that's connected you in a way that's going to lead you to something.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, sometimes, like, because I have that hope of like that romantic tendency, that hopeful romantic tendency. Like, I like try not to get too excited, because I know when I get excited, I get all the way excited.
Yeah.
And then when when it doesn't happen, like, there is a level of disappointment. It's not as bad now as it used to be, but there is a level of disappointment. But I think that the only thing that's taught me, or because I've been, you know, like, I don't want to say disappointed, but I've been like, you know, the thing that I romanticized didn't come to fruition the way that I thought. And the only thing that's taught me is, like, you know, like, you can't get too big for your britches, and you gotta just keep going. You can't, you know, you gotta keep going.
But you see, and that's where I tend to disagree with the whole notion of that. Is that, look, that confidence doesn't just come from, like, nowhere. You've invested so much time, you've invested so much in yourself, that it's okay to be like, I can do that. Like, that's totally doable.
It's not that you can't.
And
do
not that you're. When I hear things like, you don't get too big for your britches, I don't think people. That's not something, like, nobody ever goes in like yeah, like, I'm coming through. No, they have that confidence because they sincerely believe it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not having confidence. To me, I think when I say that, like, too big for your britches, is like, it's like, goes back to the whole thing of, like, don't expect somebody to come save you because you're like this, like, you're this golden egg, and that they found this golden egg, and all of a sudden you're like, you know, all your problems are going to be solved. That's not, like, don't get too big for your bridges in that way, like, you know, because it's not going to happen. Like, you got to make it happen.
You sound jilted.
I am a little jilted, but that's okay. That's okay. Like, you know, come on, like, we got to be honest, and, like, you know, who hasn't been like. A little jilted after certain things, like, you know, like, everybody gets a little jilted, but, you know, I think, to me, like, wrong or right, like, that's what my interpretation has been of things, to, like, you know, say, you know what, you know, there.
Can you tell, like, our different personalities here, like, the way we talk, like, and neither one is wrong. Like, I think Juan has a very careful way of approaching things in different manners, because he knows the outcome is going to bother him. As opposed to me, who tends to be more looser with, you know, with the way I do things, because I've had that extended, like, mind frame of, like, okay, this is everything, and I approach it, and it looks and sounds loosely, but because I've road mapped it to say. You know what I mean? And so because of that, because I knew what the potential problem or the potential, like, end result might have been, and I'm okay with it, which is why I tend to be more like, okay. I kind of expected it. I knew that might happen, and I was okay with it when I took this approach.
Well, see, the thing is, for me, like, when something doesn't work out the way that I want it to, then that just makes me, like, want to make it work out myself even more.
Yeah. Can you tell our, like, personality? I think we're discovering things about ourselves here.
That makes me just want to be like, you know what? Since I wasn't able to do that, then I want to do something better than that.
You see, and for me, it's
on my own.
Yo solo. No, but for me, it's more like, okay, is that the outcome? And what if that doesn't happen? What are you gonna do? And if that doesn't happen, what then? Are you okay with each outcome? And ideally, you would want the outcome to be the first, the latter. You would want to be your first option. But you have to be okay with the alternative.
And that's, I think, goes back to the thing of changing courses. Like, so if I say, like, I'm going to go achieve that for myself now, and if I, in the path of doing that, I realize that, you know what, this is harder than I thought, then I need to be okay with saying, you know what, I need to change course. Like, I'm spending all my energy on this, and it's not leading me to where I want it to go, and it's not going to happen for, like, I have to do, this is all it's going to take for me to get there. And am I willing to invest that? Or do I just need to change course, not be so big, not get so big for my britches, and say, you know what, Juan, stop being dumb and, like, change course.
Yeah.
And can I do that or not?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think this is great. I think we have a lot of information here. I think I was taking mental notes, and I really do hope this one is published before the conference itself, because I have to go. I'm going to go listen to it and take down the notes again. But yeah, I'm not, again, they're giving me a smaller time frame because there's professionals out there. Mine is much more broader. It's business basics. I would like for you to go sign up and listen to the other speakers. They have very much valuable information, and go support your girl. Go over there, sign up. It's free. It's an amazing, from my understanding from last year, it was an amazing conference. This one's going to be virtual, and I think they're going to be doing amazing things.
Say the name and the date again.
So it's called Dreams Unleashed, from
Sean Vaughn.
Why do I keep trying to call her Vane?
Sean Vaughn, and it's December.
Yeah, it's Sean Vane Media, and it's December 12th. And online.
Online, yeah, and it's free. So go register.
Yeah.
And
not just to support your girl. There's going to be other people there. There's going to be other speakers. You know, they're going to give more information, not just me.
And we're not sure whether this is actually going to air on Thanksgiving week or not. But if this is Thanksgiving week,
Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving! I hope that we hope that you're celebrating, that you're enjoying some good food, and you know, spending time with, or talking, at least even if it's virtual, spending time with the people you care about.
Virtually, yeah.
Yeah, and with that, we will invite you again to leave us a comment or a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yes. So thank you, Juan. For those who might not know, we're on Apple Podcasts. If you're not over there, if you're listening to us here on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. Give us a few stars. Give us a rating. The more you review, the more you write, the stars you hit, so we actually get pushed to other potential listeners.
5 stars.
So we very much appreciate it. If you want to see all the hot mess that we are, you can find us over on Facebook at juanawords.com. No, JuanaWords /Facebook.com. You can see the video of our
and on YouTube.
Wildness. If we happen to put in the audio of Becky coming out here trying to model for you, go look at her. She's a beautiful cat. At least that. Tell us she's a beautiful cat, because she knows she is. Where's her little sassy ass? Oh, she won't that here. Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. We'll see you then.
With that,
we'll see you then. Well.
And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
We'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Why are you repeating what I'm saying?
I don't know.
I'm such a psycho.